2 weeks, we talk about literally any thing in tech and far beyond for roughly an hour, or if we can't stop chatting, maybe longer. We'll see. Everybody's welcome, and you all belong in tech. So, second episode, I'm here with Alba, my co host, and our lovely guest, Maya. Thank you so much for joining, you two.
Hey,
Hi,
thank you for
Maya.
invite. Hi, thank you for inviting me. It's so great to be here. I mean, the first time when I heard to receive your invitation, I was like, yes, I definitely have to be here. So, yep. Hi, everyone, again.
We're so happy that you could make it. And the reason why why Alba suggested inviting you, first of all, you two know each other also in person, right? From events or something?
Mm,
What's the
Indeed.
backstory?
yep. We know each other for quite a long time, right, Alba?
Yeah,
Like,
I think I don't remember the first time, if I'm honest, because we were being in similar communities since the beginning. So we were seeing each other in a conference for the view ecosystem, then in the GD communities, meetups, and it's like, yeah, I don't know where I met her, but I know since then we become inseparable because every place I go that is Maya there, we make a picture. We have like the little pictures that you take in a photo booth. I have a lot with
yes, I
her.
have
It's
this
like
one.
no one has with me, only Maya. It's like
Yeah,
why?
see here.
We always found it.
So yeah, I have this one for her. If you see this, so we have quite a few, I must say, right? We have in Chess
Indeed.
Nations, we have in View Chess Amsterdam, but I think we have mostly from Chess Nation. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true because it's in Amsterdam and I live here. So usually Maya is the one that comes, not me to to her place.
But that's so cool. You even have like physical evidence of you meeting.
Indeed, indeed.
That's so unusual. Like, that's really nice. Wow. So you've met at tech conferences. And the reason why, or the topic that we want to talk about today, actually was like we've never spoken about this on the podcast previously, anything related to tech books and writing tech books. And so we came up with inviting Maya, who has recently written a really, really, really cool book. Oh my God, it's so pretty. I can't get over it.
And yeah, let's do
Yeah, so promotion here.
it.
It's so important. And so we were just curious about everything, and we have a bunch of questions, but maybe just before we get started. So we established you are an author, Maya. What else? And you're interested in View, I gather from the title of your book. You go to JS Nation or to JS conferences. Is there anything else in your bio that you would like to highlight? You're wearing a Microsoft t-shirt, so maybe there's a story there. I don't know. Do you want to give us a
Yes.
quick introduction?
Well, well, thank you first of all. And yes, well, it's hard to introduce about myself on online. But yeah, I'm working in Microsoft as senior software engineer, and but I don't fix Windows, so don't ever ask me how to install or fix Windows or printer or whatsoever. I have no idea how to do that. And yep, and in addition to writing books, I code. I love Vue. Wow, I'm one of the first time I see Vue, I love Vue from totally from the community to the framework. Yeah, definitely like this. But yeah, I work with React also, so yeah, I know where I come from. And yep, and also I'm an illustrator. I haven't drawn for quite some time, but you can see also my drawing behind back. Yeah, and I'm a mom of four.
Oh,
Actually three
four.
plus one.
Okay, 3+1, I like.
Well, you cannot say four kids because the last one is still a baby. So we're like, okay, we three plus one. And yep,
Crazy.
yep. That's it about me. I mean, I speak in conference. That's how I met Alba, and I'm also TD. All the stuff you can see in my website.
Wow,
Indeed,
so
we have
cool.
a website. That's true. We will share it later in the description of the episode for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh my God, you must be so busy all this time. I mean, I didn't know that you had a family all this time. I was like, how do you work at Microsoft and write a book? And now I'm like, you're also keeping four humans alive? Like, oh my God, that's so impressive.
Like,
Oh.
you know,
Seriously.
I have no idea how I did that. I mean, I guess it's a lot of sleepless nights. I would say.
Oof.
Is it my dark circle? I have dark circles. Okay.
No, you
Oh, I
can't
mean, you
tell at
cannot
all.
say you have, you know. Well, that means that the podcast quality is pretty good. So they add filter in here, so that's why you cannot see any dark circle and make me look better. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I must say, it's really hard to keep up with all of this, and I guess just need to balance. It's not just need. I mean, have to balance and actually have to prioritize things and give up a lot of things. So when way after I started working in Microsoft, is trying to balance things and start writing the books, I kind of disappear from social media a
Mm.
while so that I can spend that time to focus on the book. But yeah, it's all about balancing the schedule and see how I'm going to do with the kids and how my kids are okay with what I'm doing. So, and a lot of help.
Yeah, wow. Oh, that's so impressive. You basically have four very demanding clients at home.
I mean, up until 1 month ago, I have three demanding clients, so I still bearable. I don't know what's going on from now on. Now I have another like full 100% demanding client
Yeah.
than the other three. So yeah.
Wow. And so, how did you even come up with the idea of writing a book? Like, imagine, like you just mentioned, you literally have enough to do, so there isn't like a lot of free time to be like, "Huh, what should I be doing today?" So, how did you come up with that?
Well, I always wanted to write a book. Like, so that actually the Learning View actually not my first book, but it's my first book
Oh.
that I write by myself. So the first time I wrote a book, I co-author with another three or four on a book about also about Vue, but more like let me see, learning development with Vue.js. So all right, so this is the one.
Oh
So
my
this is
God.
my
It's
first book.
huge.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can see here we have like about five different people co-author the book. So I was writing just two chapter of the book and
Mm,
mainly
okay.
about routing and state management. So that's where I started, and I got approached by Pack, the publishers, and so I start with that. And of course before that I wrote quite a lot of blog posts and just to document my journey and experiment with Vue, with JavaScript, with HTML, CSS. That's how I start. And then moving on along the way, it just came, the opportunity just rise, and of course I think, okay, I do want to write a book, so yeah, I just take the opportunity when it comes.
And how different it was for you to start writing blogs or articles to start writing a book. It's like a really different process where you start doing the first one, let's say, because I imagine when you get used to do great articles, you get better on that. But I think it's a different area, isn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was totally different. Like you might think, okay, I'm writing a blog post, I write in a lot of blog posts, and it should be easy to write a book, right? Now, that's definitely not the case. Writing a book and writing a blog post is totally different. To be honest, I find, of course, writing a blog post much easier, and the time frame is the time that it
Mm.
takes much shorter. Let's say I can write a blog post in 2 hours or even half a day for a week, for example, but a chapter with about 1,000 words or 1,500 words for a book, it took me the whole week to write about it. Because for a blog post, you really narrow down to a topic, a very specific topic, a very like very tiny topic in order to keep the audience, and you usually you don't have to care so much about the change, like the how to say the audience style, maybe just your
Yeah.
style, and maybe only for a specific audience. But when you write a book, you're more like, okay, whether this what I'm writing here is correct, whether this is clear enough, the language, spelling mistake, all this code is become much on this, on the issues become much more relevant. Say I write a blog post, I don't really care if I mean, I do care about the dictations, but but I'm okay if I make this a mistake. I'm okay with that. I can move on. People probably understand me, or I can fix it. But for a book, you cannot, because once the book is bring out, you kind of do
Yeah.
with that. And of
Yeah.
course, you have editor. So writing a book blog post, you don't have editor that go behind your back and say, "Hey, I just saw your chapter, and here is the list of things you need to fix."
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but
I
yeah,
imagine.
it's very hard. It took quite a long time, and it's required a lot of dedications to write a book also. So, yep.
Yeah, for sure. But I imagine it's so also satisfying to work with somebody like an editor. Then you get feedback and you can actually do better, because sometimes with a blog post, you can't necessarily bother a bunch of people to read and give you like detailed feedback, right? And so I guess that's also really satisfying to be like, well, actually, that's true. I can do this better. I can explain it more clearly, or maybe there's a different approach to this to make sure people actually understand. So I would imagine that's really, really cool to get that kind of feedback as
Yeah,
well.
I must say that I learned a lot. I mean, choose first of all, the number one rules. If you can choose the right publisher, because the different publisher, the professional one, will really take your level up, like increase your level. I was so fortunate that I have a chance to work with Aurelie, and the editor is like amazing, and the whole team is very professional. So writing a book is not just about you writing, sit down writing. It's like you make you the core developer, like you the core writer, but the around that you need editor to give you feedback, and they sometimes they catch the thing that you never understand that, and also because they're not technical, most of them. So when they read your chapter and they give you feedback, it's only about the basic audience. So it's like, huh, I thought everyone would think about, would understand that, but in fact, she was right. Not everyone would understand that, so I need to rephrase that, and then need someone to do illustrator for me. Like the book have a very nice illustrator. It's not mine, and yep, and also have the reviewer, and each of the reviewer will view my book differently and say your book is shitty. I say, no, no, just joking. I'm saying some reviewer can say something like that, and some reviewer can say, okay, I read your book, and here's the thing I think you need to follow according to what I thought. So I like, okay, that's what you thought, and what about me? But yeah, it's like working in a company, like working in a team. Yeah, different people have different opinion on you on yours.
Oh,
So
always, always. Yeah.
yeah.
But that's so interesting. So you have an editor who's not necessarily technical and they read
Mhm.
your content. Is there also somebody reviewing your book from a technical perspective, or is that just, ah, okay.
So usually, actually, most of the editor will be at some level of technical, but they're not necessary to know. Let's say I write a book overview. The
Mm,
person who review the editor doesn't need to know view in order to review my book. They just review the context, the text, like to see the
mm.
phrasing, the transition between the chapter to chapter, whether it's engaging enough. That's her job, and then it's also her job to find the right reviewer, the technical reviewer to review my code and review the books and on the other things that come with it. So yeah, so she did a great job, by the way.
No, but that's good to know. So you also have multiple safety nets, right? Because like you said, with a blog post, you can always go back and edit, but then if you actually print it and it's done, I mean, there's usually multiple versions of a book, but still,
Mhm.
it feels like I would really be so nervous. So it would be good to have some sort of backup. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also it's very, how to say, it's also very nervous in a way that you have the whole very schedule, and I'm writing about you. So after 6 month writing, you were like, oh, they just released a new breaking changes version, and you have to go back.
No
That's
way.
Yeah, that's so
yeah.
annoying.
Oh my
That's
God.
part of
Yeah.
that's a
Yes.
part of the problem of writing technical books, especially books on frameworks. So
I can imagine. So, did you have cases
yeah.
where you had to go back and actually redo a chapter? Because then, oh no.
And not
That
redoing
sounds
the chapter. I mean, I was lucky enough not redoing the chapter, but right before, I think 2 weeks before my book's finalized for going to be publicly released, so I post a link or shout out on my link on my Twitter, and then someone from the View team just reply on my tweet and say, "Hey, in the next version, this reactivity concept will change, and we have breaking change on that. So you may need to you may need to review your books. 'Cause it will be not relevant." Like someone actually he didn't comment on that. Someone else comment on my tweet with a link to his tweet where he declared that all the books about view up until this point will be not relevant. And like, oh my god, no, no, heck no. I got so
Oh,
panicked, and it
yeah.
was like I already handing everything. I already fixed everything. We already ready like 2 weeks before we do a massive launch when people
Oh
already
my God.
start to. So I quickly I quickly emailed my editor and say, "Hey, I think we have some problem. I need to review the chapter and see that whether I need to rewrite the whole chapter or not." So it's like really panicking.
Well,
So I
yeah, no,
have
no,
to
no.
go in.
That's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
level. Yeah,
So I
because
have,
usually, if I think about
yeah,
a book, in fantasy, for example, is fantasy, so you can do whatever you like and nothing will change. And if it changes, you don't care, isn't it? But for tech,
yeah,
it's kind of, well, I can imagine doing any kind of book that won't be outdated in 3 years in the web ecosystem. I imagine that for other ecosystem like backend languages, maybe it's more stable and you can actually write a book only on one language version and it's okay for a long time. But right now, it's crazy, isn't it? So I
yeah.
guess I want to read it because I didn't read it yet, your book. But now that arrives to me, I want to read it and see if I can extract and extrapolate things that will be always there, and see if it actually stays with me for a long time. But it's really hard. I can imagine doing that. I mean, it's so brave of you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I did that, but yeah, after that, I kind of come to conclusion that if you write a technical book, you better write it fast.
Like in 1 week, please. I want it
I
now.
Yeah.
love it.
Crazy.
No, but that's
For
so
JavaScript, it's
crazy.
like, yeah, for JavaScript, it's like things change in the ecosystem so quickly that this is hard to keep up with, even if you are in the top level or you are in top learner still. Writing the book especially is like,
Yeah, and the
and
problem, sorry, no, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say the problem with the whole, like, it's an ecosystem and it lives. And so it's lucky you found out through a tweet somewhere to, like, it's kind of lucky you found out. Imagine, because in a big company or something where there's like really fixed structures, it would be like, okay, so there's going to be an update, like, just so you know, it's going to happen in 6 weeks, la la la, there's a process. And here it's just like, FYI, this is going to break everything. Like, oh my god, I would be so, yeah. So it's really lucky you found out and you have a great community and you're like sort of all over the place, but the pressure to know everything that's going on is so stressful. Oh my god. No.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful. It's like also I have a chapter, I think I have a chapter I wrote about fetching data from outside. So I using ACS to fetch data. But then after I wrote it, when it come out, and I start thinking, why did I choose ASUS? You can do the same thing with fetch. Okay, so you like kind of when you think of, because we use ASUS in at work. So kind of every time when you do something that the moment, the first thing you think of is something you use at work or you something related to you. But when you write it to the audience, like, wait, doesn't make sense, right? Because Axios is another package. Why don't you just use native browser API? So yeah, we're like, oh well, I like it, so let's do it.
And actually,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious about one thing because imagine you did the book for Vue, but I guess in
Mm,
general, not everything from the book will be only Vue related. Probably will be JavaScript or architecture of software
mhm.
related. So, did you have any guidelines from O'Reilly or in general for writing the book that tells you how to at least make a few chapters that are generic so people can extrapolate these things for other things too, like make it more understandable to all kind of developers and not only Vue developers, for example?
So yes, they have, like I say, the O'Reilly is a very professional publisher. So they have the whole guideline, a lot of guidelines, like how you structure the chapter, how you
Mm.
write the things, and how you add also footnotes and the what's it called? The synonym, not synonym, but the short term. Let's say if you say view, for example, or you
Acronym,
say
maybe.
acronym. Yes,
Acronym,
acronym. So
yeah.
so it's like, yeah, so if you say the SFC, like component, single file components, then say SFC, right? You need to make a clear the clarification what is SFC, so people will understand what it means for people who are not familiar with that. And anyway, my book is also about not just about Vue, because for Vue you can just go to documentation website and get everything, almost everything. So my book is also Vue in context of TypeScript. So there's
Mm.
certain things that in the TypeScript I wrote there that people will not be familiar with TypeScript. So in the beginning we talked about it. I when I proposed the outline, I also have a chapter about how to introduce it in TypeScript. But my editor say that because first of all, it's about Vue and TypeScript. They already have another book about TypeScript. So anything that I can explain in one chapter, one paragraph, I should explain it. Otherwise, I just can put reference to the books
Mm.
for TypeScript in case that people want to learn more. So and yes, of course, in my book, there's a lot of what you call info, like warning, like a no warning, and then information to clarify, like this, you're not supposed to use it, this you're supposed to use, and
Oh my
of course, a lot of footnotes say what does this mean, like what does HTML mean?
god.
So something like that. Yeah. So yep, they have a lot of guidelines on that. Some of the book, let's say, for example, React, for learning React, they have the whole chapter explaining what it is, 6 module.
Oh my god.
But it's kind of
Yeah.
cool because you have this whole ecosystem of other kind of books, so you don't have to explain everything, and you can assume
Yeah.
either people know the basics or they have resources to learn the basics elsewhere, and your responsibility is to focus on your topic. So that makes your like very difficult job a tiny bit easier to say like, okay, don't worry, they will figure it out. Like, go for it. In the View direction, yeah.
But you know, that's also one of the things you make assumptions to about your audience, but it's always something missing in the bottom. So someone will come to your book and say, I don't understand this. You make it very hard to understand. So it's it's always like you cannot satisfy everyone. So no matter what you try to make it very basic. But some things, some people will still find it hard to understand. So
Yeah, I can imagine. And then you read the reviews and you're like, well, I mean, it's nice that it's a physical book, so there are no like comments attached to the actual book as if you write a social media post or blog post or whatever. But then, like, shopping for the book, you'll still find reviews where people say something like, well, but the other people understood and I try my best, and it can never please every single person on the internet, right? So I think that also takes a lot of like breathing techniques to to get
Yeah,
through
well, yeah.
sanely.
One of the reviewer that gave me an opinion, like the feedback saying that you talk too much about the concept. So just I just want you to jump right in. Like if I'm the developer, I want to jump right in how to set up how to start coding, like how to use this and that, and not just explaining what the concept of single file component and like from the beginning to the end. I just want to use the composable, for example, for use composable from view and start doing something. Then I thought about it and I thought myself, okay, if I'm doing that, then what's the point of the learning view? So what's the point of my book
Mm.
compared to let's say front end development with projects with views, or for example. So for books like front end development projects with view, then they're talking about development of a project with view. So the first thing you should start is how to set up the project and go on. But so you don't really need to know on the concept, what behind the scene, what to do. But for my book, it's more like, okay, learn in view. I need to explain also the concept, like reactivity, or actually, I didn't touch that part so much. But I was like, okay, how I'm explaining the visual, like shadow dome, not shadow dome, and virtual dome. Like, someone that doesn't know view, someone that doesn't know react, go and say, okay, what do you mean by virtual dome? I don't understand how this virtual dome works. So I need to explain what is virtual dome, some event listener, things like that. And I go step by step how you switch from this to use view single file component and so on. So that's also the different direction of the book. So of course the reviewer would not be happy because he expect that the one who use it to jump right up and start working a project with you. But for me, I expect someone pick up my book and think, okay, I want to learn the concept, and then later I can build something with it. So yeah, it may be different, but in the end, we're still going towards the direction that the reader should be able to use view by the end of the book. So
But that's really nice because actually, if I think about how I learn Vue as you mentioned, like going to the docs and trying myself. But of course, when
mhm,
I went to conference and start listening to other speakers, I realized that some of the core concepts or the behind the scenes things that were happening, I didn't care that
mhm,
much because I didn't need them for my job, like to know them. I just need to use them. But nowadays that I get better and I'm happy with the code I write, I want to know what is happening, you know? So it's like, is this kind of book, I don't think it's only for people learning Vue from the beginning. I think it's also for people that have been using Vue for a long time without actually paying attention to the details, isn't it? So I think for me will be
yeah.
perfect.
I mean, you're already too experienced with view, so I don't know if it does it will provide it and what. I mean, you
But
already
even if I
experienced
can
very
do
much
it,
so.
I can explain myself why it's happening. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
try to do a push up, but I can explain you how much it cost me to do that. It's like I
yeah.
just did it. You know, like all the process get behind me and I forget about it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
I,
would
I
love to
got
Oh.
know.
you. I got you.
That's a little bit like when you speak your native language and then you're like, well, I don't know the grammar. Like I in uni I had to study German for one semester. I completely failed because I don't know what I'm doing. I just learned it, you know. So yeah.
You
Anyway,
don't know. You don't understand the grammar behind why this one so long. Why is so short in my language and why so long in German?
yeah, or what kind of gender is it, or why do we have a really ugly word for butterfly? Like I don't know. Like we just have it, okay? Like no, no, but anyway, we have a question from the audience. Violetta is
Oh, nice.
asking, how did you pick the chapters or topics that you wanted to include?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. When I write the outlines, it's one of the things that it's bother me a lot. Like, how do I start? So like you write a blog post, you pretty know one topic, work about it. For books, it's work differently because you have a proposal. So in order to get your book approved to start working on it, you need to provide a proposal. Inside the proposal, you already need to provide what chapter, how the layout, and so on. And of course, you can change along the way if you see like something outdated. But yeah, to start with, to pick the chapter, usually I sneak in other books. That's the first thing. So, for example, when I start with Learning View, I go and sneak in Learning React, for example, or Learning Angular if they have a Learning Angular, and try to see how they structure their book. And see if they understand, like, okay, this is how what is the chapter that they usually included in a technical book. And then once I have the kind of like a baseline, I go and try to understand myself. Whether do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because my headphone just went off. Anyway,
Okay.
so what I'm doing is I just think, okay, for example, I know that from my hands-on experience that we have to deal with routing, we have to deal with state management, and of course testing. All of this is from your own experience. Like if you work with the team of big development, then you know what is important to you when
Mm.
you start a project. So I kind of write down that, and then I compare with what they have in other books, and then I kind of combine together. And of course, because I wrote also co-author with another book on Vue, so I also take a look on that and see anything that interesting that I missed in the beginning, or anything that I don't like that book have but my book doesn't have. And do a little bit of market research, like reading other Vue book written before, and see which one is more related to what you're trying to do, and what you like about that chapter, what you don't like about that chapter. Maybe this you'd feel not relevant. So, and then combine to the first draft, and then working on and along the way, like say during the writing, then you start to see how the flow go. Then you start to arrange the chapter. So
Mm.
initially I have about 12 chapter, no, 11 chapter. So the chapter 2 was very long because we talk about the mechanism behind the scene of how Vue works. Then along the way, I found, okay, this chapter is too long. It took more than 20 pages just for the chapter. So we should split it. And then when I split it, I kind of like, okay, but then this chapter, if I split it into two chapters, this chapter and the next chapter, and the chapter about reactivity doesn't flow very well. So I need to swap it. And then I found that the chapter I just split, part of it should belong to another chapter. So like you play with it until you see that the flow it go according to, like, the reader would not feel like aha moment, something like that. So yeah,
Mm.
just play with it.
So it's I imagine it's a tiny bit like, oh, Maya has, oh, there you are. Okay, you're back.
Yeah.
Is it me? No, it's not me. I'm just gonna, can you still hear us, Maya? Yeah, but we can't hear you. No.
Yeah, you changed the mic, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Just in case you have any more questions, I'm just going to use this this moment of silence. You can also put them in the chat, like Violetta did. So that was super insightful. And what I'm curious about, once Maya has sound again, would be so you mentioned you write kind of like a proposal. So you have applied to O'Reilly in this case to write the book. Is it like a CFP, like a call for paper or call for presentation when you read the proposal? We have lost Maya.
Yeah, I think she is trying to set up the mic or the headphones. Is back? No?
No, I don't think so.
We have a moment of pause, people.
Yeah.
One
So
second for
while
Maya.
Maya is trying to
We
figure it
can drink
out,
some water, drink some tea.
very important, hydrate people. No, I have. I don't know if it's possible to see because, of course, it's mirrored. But I actually have another O'Reilly book on my desk, which is about web accessibility by Manuel Matuzovic, and I thought it was really interesting because what we were talking about before was like writing concepts versus writing super concrete things. And what he described in the outline of the book was also saying like he wants something that can live on for a really long time and write like about the concepts in general and not so much. It's also about implementation, right? But it's not like framework specific
Hey.
necessarily. Yes, you're back.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my point was done essentially. So you're back. Can you say something so we can test? Is it?
Hey there.
Yeah.
By the way, Yoshi, you just show me the accessibility cookbook. Is that?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's a web accessibility cookbook by Manuel Matuzovic.
Oh, that's look cool. Can
Yeah.
I have the link afterwards?
Yeah, of course, of course. I really like it. I was just saying, I don't know what you heard, but I was just saying he talks in the foreword, he talks a lot about how he tried to make it as long lived as possible rather than solutions based on frameworks that then are outdated. But my question before was about like you wrote a proposal and you applied to O'Reilly. What is that? No, they reached out
No,
to you. Okay,
no,
then
no,
I'm
no, no.
curious.
So, okay, there's two way. One is that you write the proposal and then you apply to O'Reilly. If you have some contact, like already have contact in O'Reilly, you can send like make connection and send your proposal to O'Reilly directly, and then yeah, then you continue with that. May or may not work. And the other one is that they contact you and asking you if you're interested in writing a book. And then you also need to prepare the proposal. Again, in both way, in the one that they approach you, you can ask them for help, like
Mm.
the one who come to you. They can give you feedback about the proposal and give you the templates to start working on. But yeah, both way you still need to make the proposal, and they still need to take the proposals to the higher manager and get approval on that. So in my case, it was the second scenario. Like there was acquisitions acquisition managers from O'Reilly that contact me and ask me if I want to write a book about Vue. So I like, okay, bring it on.
Okay, that's so
uh,
cool.
yeah, but it's still writing like it doesn't mean that you get a shortcut where you don't need to write the proposal or someone write the proposal. You need to do everything. And yes, and if you ask me what the proposal include, it include market research, include whatever that you need to do, what are your competitor on the market, what your book is about, and how your outline look like, and how you plan to market your what is target audience, how you plan to market your book and so on. That's not easy.
Sounds difficult. Actually, did you actually created a blog article or something explaining the process of
Mm.
asking for a book to be released or something like that? Like how to investigate of the resources you use? That would be really interesting, Maya. I mean, I will read it and I would love to know.
Maybe I should write it. I just too lazy to write one.
No, of course, after the baby becomes a kid, when you have
Yeah.
4 kids and not 3 plus 1.
Yeah, I thought about writing it. Yes, but I never know if really it's interesting to people or not. I do get my friends ask me once a while that they're thinking about writing the books and what the process to. But I'll write 2 books. That doesn't make me an expert.
But it's interesting because it's like writing the proposal, like doing the market research, all the things that you just mentioned, that already requires so many skills that are not necessarily. So imagine you're just a technical person. Like, I'm not saying you are, but I
Mm.
imagine somebody wanting to write a book about Vue is, first of all, probably a developer and a technical person. And so now, if you want to write this proposal, like, how do you even do market research? Like, there's so many new things that come along with So I guess it's like a lot of learning, but also a lot of new skills that first you need to acquire, or you need to have really good friends who know how to help you in that. So
Yeah.
that's really impressive. Yeah, can imagine.
Also, you need to know how to write. Well, I must say that maybe now you can use ChatGPT to help you to write. Oh yeah, it took me a week to do that proposal, and then after that I got feedback, and I had to fix the proposal again. So yeah, it's not simple, but it's not too hard. I think they also understand that most people writing about the book is technical person, so they're very helpful regarding the what to write and what do you expect from that, and if you need any help, they're there to help them. So yeah.
That's good. But as yeah, I mean, oh my God, we've covered so much already. So we we established a few like ground rules. But is there anything you feel like we've been missing from the conversation of how to write a book? Any things that you didn't expect when you went into it, and that you know now, and you would like to share, maybe?
Well, there's a lot of things that um, I mean, you can start with like with whatever we said until now. You can start with the. I hope that is the good starter, but the different. Let's say, like I said, different publisher have different guideline and different way to work with. So some will work with Microsoft Office like Doc, Microsoft Word like Word,
Word.
and some are using Markdown for. So it really depends. But if you can, try to choose the one that more convenient to you. I once worked with a publisher that's using Word, and it's terrible because you know when you write the book, when you write the chapter, you will think to yourself, this is what you see, what you get. Like you think that you're writing in the docs, then you say, this is the chapter. Look like you try to align things, you try to make it pretty, but it's not necessarily what going to be printed out. And and I have a lot of things going wrong with the docs, like use the normal doc or Google Docs, something like that. So I only prefer to write in Markdown and use GitHub version in order to save my. Yeah, that's important because when you make changes to the chapter, you need to have some sort of backup in order to fall back if in case that you feel like this chapter doesn't work or something go wrong in the middle. And when I start, one of the things I really appreciate working with Aurelia, this is how they did. So they have the whole
Oh,
like
nice.
GitHub like a style and give it to me, and then I'll just create the branches and I work on that. And so if you start working on a book or writing, important, make it clear that you need some sort of clear system in order to do backup and to make changes, and also some sort of visual side that you can see the book how it look like. So when I work with really, they actually have a mechanism that you can view, you can trigger the view, and it will give you the version of the book how it look like. Then you can see whether you write on the markdown and how it renders. Like the front end is
Nice.
important.
That's
So
very
And
cool.
smart. Yeah.
yeah, and the second thing is writing a book, technical book, you need codes like sample codes. So first of all, go and create a GitHub or I don't know, Bitbucket GitHub. Make it in private. Put on the code there. Try testing and clarify in your book what version you are using. Otherwise, you will end up with a lot of
Mm,
requests after the book release. Come back to you and say, I just clone your things and it doesn't work, or I start from scratch and it doesn't work because the version doesn't match. Oh yeah, I need to like know JS, what version I'm using. If I'm using some kind like command line specific to some version,
mm,
then I have to write down what is that. So anything you do, write note somewhere. I don't know, Notions, editor, whatever you do, note down the steps, and then you can use it to don't count on your memory because
mm,
writing a book you don't have time for memory, like don't have time for
mm.
remember the memory. Like that.
That's a really
Um,
good tip. In general, yeah, not about grading a book, in general, grading things that you want to remember in the short time, because
yeah.
sometimes we think, no, I can handle this. I will save it for later. No, it's like grade it down. Otherwise,
And one more thing that don't think that you can finish a chapter in 2 hours.
you tried, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah, like no
nice.
matter how experienced you are with writing, don't think that you can finish a chapter today and submit it tomorrow. Something like that. Don't wait for the last for the end. Usually you need to practice every day, like every day until the deadline, if you can. So every day you write about 100, 200 words or something like that, then you can you be sure that you cover all of that. Otherwise, you will like always run late to your
Mm.
deadline. And yeah, and don't be confident. Try to be not confident in your writing skill. Not to mention that you need to reread it and proofing it and check if the dictation is good, the grammar is good. If not, then your editor will shout at you.
I expect that it's in written format and email format, not in out loud. Like, please leave
All
me alone.
caps, yeah. But it already, I mean, I know you're saying like be humble and be respectful of your own time, but I feel like every time frame that you mentioned, like, oh yeah, I just wrote a chapter in a week. I'm like, oh my god, you did what? Like you have that already like still sounds so crazy fast to me. Like I always assumed people would be, oh sorry, people would be writing and writing and writing, and like I guess for me also the perfectionist would get the best of me, and then you get
Mm,
stuck in this loop. So I think it's a healthy balance probably of like plan time, not too
Mhm.
little, but also don't like but I guess that's two
yeah.
different kinds of people, right? Like some people will
Yeah.
just not let it go, and other people are like, okay, done, thank you. Like
But also, it's hard if you leave it for the last minute to write, or you write half and then you wait until half a month later and write about it. You forget
Mm,
completely what you wrote before, and then take time to read it. And yes, it will be much harder on you personally, especially when you don't have a lot of time in your schedule. So spend about half an hour a day to write or 1 hour a day to write will in long term it will be good for your like prioritization time schedule. Like you asked me before how I managed to do that with triggers, works and things, a lot of things going on. So this is exactly how I do it. Or you can call it atomic habit if you ever read that book.
mm, love
Yeah.
it.
Yep. So that's one of the things. And then also another tips is that if you write a book. Put your phone away, put everything away, because you will always
Mm.
be tempted to answer things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Nah, really good tips, Maya.
Thank you. And yeah, take things easy, because if you write a book, your editor will shout at you anyhow. I was like the first time I wrote a chapter, I was so proud of myself, and like, I think
Oh.
okay, I count up everything. It sounds good. It should be good. And then I got the feedback, and then like the whole list is like this doesn't look good. This doesn't sound good. And like okay, oh my god, I'm so bad at this. Just take things easy, I guess. Yeah, that's what I can say.
wow. So I'm so impressed. This is so cool. Now I also really want to go order that book and read it because I'm curious. I'm so curious. It's really nice. Do you have any other projects planned for the near future? Like, what's going to be your next thing if you want to share? I mean, obviously, you don't need one necessarily, but is there anything?
Well, at the moment, I have a baby to take care of, so until the end of the year, I'll take things slowly with my baby and see. I'm thinking of, well, I've been thinking about having a podcast. I mean, I talked to Alba
Indeed.
about it, and it's still like a
Indeed.
year
Nice.
ago. I still haven't make up my mind about it, so I thought of doing a podcast or maybe writing another book. but I'll see how it goes first. I still,
Nice.
I mean, you guys did a great job with your podcast.
Oh,
I
thank
just
you.
don't know who will listen to me.
Nah,
Oh,
that's not true. Everyone will want to listen to you. You have so much things to say and so much experience in so many topics, Maya. I mean, it's impressive. But actually, I'm looking forward to whatever you are doing next,
yeah.
even if it's resting and just tweeting about it. I will still watch it.
Thank
I
you,
feel like
thank
we
you.
need more on that on all the social media platforms. Just people sharing their resting instead of all their accomplishments. So all of us can feel a little bit better about ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Maybe
know,
you get us hype because you are doing something in your free time for resting that we want to do too. I mean, that could be also
no,
nice for the thing.
don't do that. Don't do that. My honest advice. Don't do things on your resting time. Like, I'm a crazy person, so I know what I'm doing. But I honestly, I don't recommend you to follow my step. If you in maternity leave, be in maternity leave. It just I'm a workaholic, so I
Mm,
get bored after a while, and I just have to, okay, I need to go and do something to make me feel like confidence, and not just feeling like a milking factory. Oh my God, this is on YouTube, right?
indeed. But don't worry.
No,
No, but
it's fine. I
that's
always tell
really
my
good advice
husband.
to
Eh,
calm down a
but
little bit if that's what you want. Yeah.
yeah, it's mean, let's say, don't look at, I mean, you probably already know this. You saw on social media, people always always talk about achievement, about like how they are doing this, how great like look like they have, and a lot of times, like you say, how do I manage all of that? I can tell you, I don't. I I fail a lot also. It's like they work is really hard. I just don't talk about these things on
Mm.
my free time, on social media like any other people. So just do whatever you more comfortable for you. If writing a book is something that you need to do, you want to do, then do it, because writing a book, honestly, writing a book is way worse, way, how say, require time consumptions and effort,
Mm.
and the reward is not as rewarding like writing a blog post. So
That's good to know.
yeah, so if it's writing for you to, you really like to write book, and you want to have an achievement in your life, and you want to teach people, want to share, welcome to do it. But don't just do it because you think that's must to do it, the content creator, because it's not what it look like. It's not like sparkling like what it look like. But
No, we
yeah,
will take your advice for sure. And I'm pretty sure I won't write a book soon. But at least I have the knowledge now on what I need to do in case I want. And I hope the audience also have. And yeah, I think now it's time to wrap up. Thank you, Maya, for coming, for sharing all your knowledge and your experience writing books with us. And thank you, the audience, for watching us and probably see the recording later. As you know, this is as any podcast, a big weekly that we host. Sometimes the three of us, Arisa, Josie, and I, sometimes we will change. You will see. It's how it is. Life in tech is busy. But yeah, as always, we want to tell you that every 2 weeks you will have a new episodes, probably with a guest, probably without not. We have different kind of episodes. And that we all belong in tech. Don't forget about that. We all belong in tech. It doesn't matter who you are, how experienced you are. You can join the community, share with us. And if you want to tell us a topic or a guest that you want for next episode, please leave us in comments or tell to us in DMs, whatever you want. We are open. Thank you so
yep,
much.
Thank you,
yep.
And
everybody.
enjoy
Thank
your
you for
day.
having me. Yes, bye.
Bye.